there, YouTube. I'm back again today for another game review, another special Kickstarter review. And today I'm very excited checking out GROWL. This is for 4 to 7 players. Take about 10 to 15 minutes to play, and it's for ages, I don't know, I'd say about 10 plus. And in GROWL, this is a very light, quick social deduction game where you're either going to be a werewolf and you're trying to turn other people into werewolf / kill them, or you're going to be a human and your job is to survive and kill werewolves. It's very light. It's very simple, it's very quick, it's very compact, but it's very good. Let's open it up, and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what should I get inside of a GROWL. So first and foremost, we're going to handy-dandy rule booklet. I also want to mention this is the prototype I have in front of me, so obviously your rules will probably not look like this, but it's going to be one page, double-sided, full color. It's got some pictures, some illustrations, some examples. Very well done rule booklet, should have you up and running in no time at all, and it's also a very simple game, so I can teach you how to play right now. So in GROWL, you are going to start off the game as either a werewolf or you're going to start off as a human, and the werewolves are trying to turn everybody else into werewolves or kill everybody else, kill all the humans, or the humans are just trying to stay alive. They can stay alive until this deck runs out, then all the humans, even if they're dead, will win the game. Likewise, if the werewolves win, all the werewolves, even if they're dead, will win the game. So, what am I talking about? Let's go over the components. Let's get into the gameplay. First, they got a nice little setup card. Very stinking useful. It will tell you exactly how many wolves you're going to start with, what cards you need to take out if you're playing 4, 5, 6, or 7 players. Really big. I wish more games had little things like this. Next, you're going to have an objective card in front of you, which is pretty self-explanatory. If you're a human, the goal is for it to have at least one human to be alive at the final night, which will actually be a card that says final night. And if you're a werewolf, same thing, you want to kill all the humans. So next, we have 3 kinds of cards. We have GROWL cards, night cards, final night cards. Let's go over the final night card and the night cards first. Final night's just going to go at the bottom. It's going to have a special thing that will happen on the final night, and there's 2 different ones. I imagine you're going to have even more different ones when you get the game, though. Next, you're going to have night cards. You will have 2 of these, 2 nights throughout the game. They, once again, will do special things on the bottom that will shake up the game a little bit. So let's see. Target any player, including yourself. That player sits out the night as if they were dead, and that will make more sense when I tell you what's going on. The Sentinel, target any player, including yourself, then discard this card and night falls. During this night phase, the elected player will not shuffle the card. So essentially, you're going to get perfect information that night. Once again, doesn't make sense. So let's talk about the other cards, talk about the night phase, and those will make more sense. Now, first we got the GROWL deck here. The GROWL deck is the most important part, but when you first start the game, you're going to start with bite cards, you're going to start with gold cards. You're going to randomly deal these out. So if you are playing a 6 or 7 player game, you would start with 2 bite cards and 5 or 4 gold cards. You're going to mix them up, and you're going to randomly deal these out to all the players. So right now, I have a 4-player game set up. So 3 people are going to start off as humans. The 1 person who gets the bite is going to start off as Werewolf 0, and they are a werewolf. Now, even if you get rid of this card, you are still a werewolf. And if you ever have 3 bites in your hand, you immediately become a werewolf. Even if you get rid of those 3 bites, and you get rid of all of them, you are still a werewolf and you immediately change teams, but you don't announce that, obviously. So you're going to deal out the 4 cards to the different people, like so. Then you are going to deal out cards, 3 more cards to everybody from this deck, and this is the main GROWL deck. There will be more bites in this deck. There will be charms, which negate a bite. There'll be wounds, and if you ever have 3 wounds, you are dead, and you're just done. You're out of the game. You no longer participate in the night phase, which is a bit of a bummer, but luckily there are salves, which are another card in here. Yeah, salves, which will negate wounds, so you're not going to die immediately. There's also like a mulligan rule where if you start with 3 bites or 3 wounds, then you obviously get a new hand. Hexes, if you have any charms, they are all negated, which, needless to say, is a really interesting one to pass. And more gold, which is mostly just for endgame scoring if you're playing more than 1 game. So, once you've dealt out 3 cards to each people, we're just going to deal these out randomly, don't really care what they are, then you're going to set up this deck right here. So you'll shuffle it. First thing you're going to do is you are going to place 1 final night card at the bottom of the deck. Next, you are going to slide in 2 night cards, one about 1/3 of the way down, and then one about 2/3 of the way down. So you're going to have 2 nights and then the final night in the game. Then you're going to set the cards face up so everyone can see them, and you're going to give that to the first player. The rest of this stuff can go off to the side. And now you're going to start the game. And how the game works is it's really pretty self-explanatory. Oh man, this is great. So I started off with a bite card, I do believe, and now I have a gold, which will make more sense a little bit later. So I have to give this card to someone. Just period. I have to give it to someone. And this is really the crux of the game, because somebody else might be like, oh, don't give me a bite, or do give me a bite, or this is kind of where people are going to start talking to each other and gaming the game. So let's say that I am a werewolf and I know I want to turn somebody into a werewolf, so I would like to give this to someone who I think is not a werewolf yet. So I'm saying, I got to give it to somebody, so I'm just going to give it to you. Then I pass the cards over to this player right here, and he might be a human. And he might be like, all right, I saw you just got that growl, so you know what? I'm going to give you this charm. Now, he also might potentially, if he was a werewolf, he might do the same thing. He might be like, all right, I saw you just got this bite. I'm going to give you this charm because he's trying to blend in and look like a human. So he might pass it over here. Then we got this wound over here. And the wound might be like, you know what? I think you are a werewolf because you gave that guy the bite. So I'm going to give you this wound because I'm trying to kill you. And all these cards are face down. No one gets to see which cards are. And this guy's like, ha ha ha, yeah, I think you're a werewolf too. So I'm going to give you a wound. Now, if you ever have 3 wounds that are unblocked, so right now I do have 3 wounds, but I also have 1 salve, you immediately tell everyone that you are dead, and that will slightly change up the game. You still get to dish out cards, but you don't get to participate in what's called the night phase. So let's just dish these out, and we'll just keep going, like boop-a-doop-a-doo, bite here, bite there, bite everywhere. Finally, we get to the night phase. Let's say it's this guy's night phase right here. So what's going to happen is he reads the card. Target any player, including yourself. That player sits out this night as if they were dead. Discard this card, and night falls. So let's see what this guy has in his hand and see what he would do. So he has 3, actually he should be dead technically, but for this example, we're going to say he's not dead yet. He actually has 3 wounds. So he would probably want to sit out himself because most likely one of these 2 people is the werewolf, and they would try to target him to give him that wound to kill him or to give him the bite to turn him into a werewolf. So he says, you know what? I am going to not participate in this night phase. So here's how the night phase works. The night phase works, you are going to give 1 card to the player on your left, 1 card to the player on your right, and then they are going to do that. So let's see. This guy would give this card here, and he'd do this card right there. And this guy would go 1 here and 1 there. Then you're going to mix these cards up so you do not know which of your neighbors gave them to you. And you are going to add those cards to your hand and deal with whatever aftermath that might be. So let's see. Did this change anything for me? No. I'm still a werewolf. And that's about it. Anywho, once the night phase is gone, you're going to continue going around the circle until you get to the second night phase. You'll rinse, wash, and repeat, passing 1 card to the left, passing 1 card to the right. Then you'll get to the final night, and you'll do the same thing. At which point at the end of the game, they have this weird way where if you were the werewolf, the first werewolf, you start growling, and then all the other werewolves start growling with you. And if anyone is not growling, they're human, and they win the game. And either the werewolves or the humans win the game. And that, in a nutshell, is how you're going to play GROWL. Alrighty then, GROWL coming to a Kickstarter near you very, very soon. I'll be sure to post that Kickstarter down below. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. 4 to 7 players, a little bit of a restricted player count, and I like it best at 5, 6, and 7. I did not think it was bad, but I liked it best at those player counts. Also, this is a very light, a very quick, a very filler-esque social deduction game, which means if you're hoping for more meat on the bones, this one is not going to do that. While there is, for 10 or 15-minute game, a good deal of meat here, the meat will get old fast if you don't like games like this, because it is just lying and bluffing and trying to manipulate people into thinking that either you're a werewolf or you're a human or trying to kill people, and that can get old fast. I'm really hoping in the full game they have a couple more nights that will mix it up and a couple more final nights that mix it up, even though it is nice that they have different ones already, but hopefully the Kickstarter will do well enough that they can add even more. Any other cons that I have with the game? No, not really. I mean, as long as you go into this game knowing that it is a filler game, that it's very light, that it's social deduction, then I could definitely recommend GROWL. We were very pleasantly surprised with GROWL. It started off rough at first, but then once we got about 4 or 5 cards in and really started to understand the mechanisms and understand what was going on, we actually had a really good deal of fun with this game. And if you like filler games, if you like social deduction, this is definitely one I can recommend. Because it really does play in about 15 to 20 minutes. You can probably knock a game out in about 10 or 15 minutes once you know what you're doing. It's one of those games where you're probably not going to just play it once. You're going to play game after game after game, a little bit like Don't Mess with Cthulhu, but even quicker and even lighter than that. But that being said, even with the lightness, the social deduction really did come through. I mean, it's tense, especially towards the end of the game. And it's really kind of a role reversal. Normally, in Werewolf and other games like that, it's, oh my gosh, we need to figure out who the bad guy is. We need to figure out who the bad guy is. But I like this one a lot because it flips it on its head, and it's more about, oh my god, I'm a human. Everyone around me is a werewolf. I just need to trick everyone into thinking I'm a werewolf, because slowly you know that there's going to be more and more and more werewolves. And that once it gets close to that final night phase, it's like, oh my god, just blend in. Nobody kill me. Nobody kill me. I'm a werewolf. I'm a werewolf. I'm a werewolf. And it becomes pretty tense. I mean, this is probably the most tense 10 or 15 minute game I've ever played in my life, which is a really awesome compliment there. I enjoyed it. I like it. I am going to keep it. I think it's a good filler weight game, especially if you have like a larger game. Like, it's one of those games where it's like you got 6 or 7 and you want to just kind of chit chat a little bit before you break up into 2 groups. If you are like me and you have that happen at your game night from time to time, I think this is a great recommendation. So, you like filler? Definitely check this one out. You like social deduction, especially lighter ones, definitely check this one out. Like the higher player count. In the end, I can recommend GROWL. I think it is a good game, and I think for a lot of people it's going to be a great lightweight filler social deduction game. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know, what is your favorite under 1 hour social deduction game? For me personally, it is Don't Mess with Cthulhu. I love Two Rooms and a Boom, and that is under an hour, but I still think Don't Mess with Cthulhu takes the top spot, especially because I feel like those are 2 completely different games. Don't Mess with Cthulhu is a fantastic 4-player game, but once you start getting at 9, 10, 11 players, it loses a little bit of its luster, whereas Two Rooms and a Boom, I feel the exact opposite. Like, there's no way I'm ever playing that with 7, 8, 9, 10 players. I want like 11 to 30 players for that game. Let me know in the comments below. What is your favorite under 1 hour social deduction game? And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.